All right, let's get into it. You know, if you grew up before, say, the year 2000, the whole idea of coming of age probably brings to mind a certain set of things. But for millions of people today, that entire experience, it's being filtered through and honestly forged by the screen. So we're going to explore what it really means to grow up when your playground, your identity, and your social rulebook are all digital.
So let me ask you something. Think about it for a second. Seriously, where did you first meet the people who shaped your childhood? Was it at the local park, in class, maybe at summer camp, or just messing around in the neighborhood? Just get that answer in your head.
Because for a whole new generation, the answer to that question looks completely different. It looks like this. And what's so wild is how the purpose of these places hasn't really changed, just the location. The park, that place for just spontaneous, unstructured hangouts, that's a Discord server now. The mall, a place to see and be seen, has basically become a Fortnite lobby. And that super private, intimate space of a friend's basement, well, that's the end-to-end encrypted group chat.
And that brings us to our first big idea here, the new social playground. We're talking about a fundamental shift from the cul-de-sac to the cloud.
This is the point that's so crucial to get. For decades, we talked about the internet as this add-on to our real lives, but that's just not true anymore. For so many young people, these digital spaces aren't the side dish, they're the main course. Friendships, fights, romances, social status, all of it is being built, tested, and lived out, primarily online.
Let's break down just how different this new environment really is. In the analog world, your audience was usually just the people you could see right in front of you. Now, it could be anyone, a vast and invisible crowd. What you said used to have permanence only in someone's memory, right? It was fleeting. Now, it can be permanent and searchable, forever. And privacy. It used to be contained. Now it's incredibly porous. One screenshot can turn a private joke into a public spectacle.
And listen to this quote from a 16-year-old named Leo. It just perfectly captures this new reality. The whole distinction between online life and real life, for a lot of people, it's totally meaningless. The feelings, the connections, the friendships, they're just as real. For Leo, this is his real life.
So if the playground has totally changed, what about the person playing in it? Well, that brings us to our next section, crafting the online self, where identity can feel a lot like a constant performance. The key phrase to understand here is identity curation. It's this idea that our online profiles aren't just a simple reflection of who we are, they're actively built piece by piece. It's like we've all become the curators of our own personal museum, carefully choosing what to put on display. And this isn't just about being vain, it's a brand new skill for managing social anxiety and just showing you belong in this huge digital world.
And this shows you exactly how it works. It's not just some casual thing, right? It's a whole process, and it can be a lot of work. First, you might take dozens of photos. Then you select that one perfect one that projects exactly the right image. Next, you apply filters and edits, and you spend ages crafting the perfect witty caption. And then, the final step, you post it, and you monitor the engagement, the likes, the comments. It's this constant feedback loop of performance and approval.
And if you think this is just a niche thing, think again. According to the research, the number is huge, 73%. Almost 3 out of every 4 teens feel this immense pressure. It's not just a fun little activity. For so many, it's become this high-stakes social duty to broadcast an idealized version of their life and themselves.
And what makes this all even harder is this phenomenon sociologists call context collapse. Okay, think about it. In the real world, you act a certain way around your best friends and a totally different way around your grandmother, right? The jokes you tell change. But online, they're all in the same room, watching the same show. A single post has to be somehow appropriate for your boss, cool for your friends, and reassuring for your parents, all at the same time. It makes trying to present yourself incredibly tricky and really, really stressful.
Now, it's important to know that these pressures aren't felt the same way by everyone. Our next section gets into how the digital world is often a very gendered one, with different expectations and, let's call them, social algorithms for boys and girls. This chart here just breaks it down so clearly. You can see the pressure is high for everyone, but the kind of pressure is pretty different. For boys, that bar on the left shows that the pressure is often about projecting status. Being funny, being an expert on something, being successful. For girls, that bar on the right shows the pressure is way more skewed towards physical appearance, social perfection, and just being nice. And this quote from a 15-year-old named Maya, wow, it just gives such a powerful voice to that data. It's not about being just one thing. It's about trying to walk this impossible tightrope of contradictory expectations. You have to be perfect, but make it look effortless. It's an exhausting goal.
So what this all means is that there are these different unwritten social algorithms at play. And to be clear, we're not talking about computer code. We're talking about codes of conduct, these unspoken rules for getting positive feedback online. For boys, the way you get validation is often through showing off your status, your skill, or your humor. For girls, it's more often through getting affirmation by showing off your appearance, being relatable, and keeping the social peace.
Okay, so let's just quickly sum up the big takeaways here. First, the social playground is now digital, and that completely changes the rules of friendship. Second, our online identity has become this carefully curated performance, not just a reflection of who we are. And third, these digital pressures are very real, and they often play out very differently depending on your gender.
And at the end of the day, the goal here isn't to just slap a good or bad label on all this. It's way, way too complicated for that. The real takeaway is that this is a fundamentally new way of growing up, a new human experience with its own unique challenges, skills, and social rules that, honestly, we are all still trying to figure out. Which kind of leaves us with one last big question to think about. In a world where our lives are documented in this permanent, curated, searchable archive, I'm talking the photo roll, the chat log, the feed, what parts of our real, messy, authentic selves will we choose to remember? And what parts might just get edited out for good?